What happens when the richest man in the world walks onto a daytime talk show expecting a conversation about the future, and instead finds himself facing a host who has confused rudeness with intelligence? This isn't a story about money. It isn't a story about Twitter or Tesla or rockets. It's a story about what happens when someone who has spent their life solving impossible problems finally runs out of patience with someone who has spent her life creating them. What unfolded on The View that morning would end with a billionaire saying 5 words that silenced an entire studio, and a host who realized, too late, that she had picked a fight with the wrong person. Make sure to subscribe and drop a comment, because this story will leave you speechless. The studio was dressed for a normal Tuesday. Soft lighting, the familiar glass desk, mugs positioned with the precision of a show that had been running for decades. The audience filed in with the usual mix of excitement and curiosity. They had heard the rumors. Elon Musk was in the building. When Elon walked onto the set, the energy shifted immediately. It wasn't that he was famous, this show had hosted presidents. It was that he didn't seem to care. He wasn't polished. He wasn't rehearsed. He moved with the slightly awkward confidence of a man who had nothing to prove and nowhere to be except exactly where he chose to be. Whoopi Goldberg leaned forward. "Please welcome Elon Musk." The applause was loud, curious, expectant. Elon nodded once, sat down, and placed his hands on the table. He didn't reach for the mug. He didn't settle into the chair. He just waited. "Thank you for coming," Whoopi said. Elon nodded again. "Thanks for having me." Joy Behar watched him the way a cat watches something it hasn't decided is prey yet. For the first few minutes, the conversation stayed safe. Whoopi asked about SpaceX. Another co-host mentioned electric vehicles. Elon answered in short, direct sentences, no fluff, no anecdotes, just facts delivered in a monotone that somehow still felt compelling. The audience listened intently. This wasn't a performer. This was someone who thought differently, and that was interesting on its own. Then Joy leaned forward. Not dramatically, not loudly, just enough to signal that the warm-up was over. "So, Elon," she said, her tone carrying that familiar edge. "You've been in the news a lot lately." Elon looked at her. "I'm usually in the news." A few laughs from the audience. "Yes," Joy continued, not laughing. "But not always for the right reasons." The temperature shifted. It was subtle, a tightening in the air, the kind you feel before a storm. Elon didn't react. He just waited. "You bought Twitter," Joy said, dragging the word out. "Spent billions. Fired thousands of people. Renamed it X, whatever that means. And a lot of people are asking, was it worth it?" Elon tilted his head slightly. "Was it worth it?" "Yes." "Was it worth it?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you burned $44 billion just to prove you could." The audience murmured. Joy smiled, that thin, satisfied smile she wore when she thought she had landed a punch. Elon didn't move. "From where you're sitting," he repeated quietly. "That's an interesting phrase." "Why is that interesting?" Joy asked, her smile fading slightly. "Because from where I'm sitting," Elon replied, "X is the most powerful information platform on the planet. It's profitable. It's growing. And it's free from the censorship that was strangling public discourse before I bought it." "Censorship?" Joy scoffed. "You mean content moderation?" "I mean censorship," Elon said flatly. "There's a difference. Moderation is removing illegal content. Censorship is removing opinions you don't like. The previous owners did the second one and called it the first one." Joy leaned back, crossing her arms. "So you're the free speech champion now? The same guy who bans journalists who criticize him?" Elon's expression didn't change. "Name one journalist I banned for criticizing me." Joy blinked. "There were several." "Name one." The pause stretched. Joy's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "I don't have the list in front of me." "Because there isn't one," Elon said. You've heard things. You've read headlines. But you don't actually know, do you? The audience stirred. It wasn't quite applause, it was the sound of people realizing they were watching something real. Whoopi, sensing the tension, jumped in. Let's talk about something more positive. SpaceX, you're sending people to Mars. That's incredible. Elon's demeanor shifted slightly. This was his territory, not confrontation, but creation. We're trying, he said. The goal is to make humanity multiplanetary. Not because Earth is doomed, but because we shouldn't have all our eggs in one basket. That's inspiring, one of the co-hosts said. You're literally building the future. Elon nodded. Someone has to. The future doesn't build itself. The audience applauded warmly. For a moment, the studio felt normal again. Then Joy adjusted her mug with a scrape of ceramic against glass. But let's be honest, Elon, Joy said. Isn't all of this, the rockets, the electric cars, the tunnel, whatever, isn't it just a distraction? Elon turned toward her slowly. A distraction from what? From the fact that you're not actually as brilliant as everyone thinks you are. You're rich. That's different from being smart. The statement hung in the air. Even Whoopi flinched. Tell me more, Elon said. His voice was calm, almost curious. But it was the kind of calm that made everyone lean forward. Joy, emboldened, pressed on. You bought your way into companies. Tesla wasn't your idea, you bought in early and took credit. PayPal wasn't your idea, you merged and took over. You're not an inventor. You're an investor with good PR. The audience was dead silent. This wasn't a question. This was an indictment. Elon sat very still. When he spoke, his voice was lower than before. You're conflating two things, he said. Being an early employee and being a founder. I was a founder of PayPal, I wrote code, I built the product, I was the CEO. The company that merged with us was Confinity. Their product was called Confinity. PayPal was ours. He paused. Tesla, I joined as chairman and lead investor when it was 3 people and a PowerPoint. I led every product decision for the Roadster, the Model S, the Model 3. I slept on the factory floor. So no, I didn't just buy in. Joy opened her mouth, but Elon wasn't done. SpaceX, I founded it. I'm the chief engineer. I design the rockets. You can look this up. It's all public. Joy smirked. You're very defensive. No, Elon said. I'm very accurate. There's a difference. Moderation is one thing. Accuracy is another. And you seem to struggle with both. The audience erupted. Not polite applause, genuine, surprised, delighted reaction. Joy's face tightened. Her grip on the mug whitened her knuckles. You know what your problem is? Joy snapped, abandoning all pretense of civility. I have a feeling you're about to tell me. Your problem is ego. You think because you're rich and famous, the normal rules don't apply. You can say whatever you want on your platform. You can attack whoever you want. You can fire thousands of people and sleep fine at night. Elon let the silence stretch. When he finally spoke, his words were measured. You've been on television for decades. You get paid to give your opinions. You've never built a company, never employed anyone, never created a product. But you're lecturing me about ego. Joy's face flushed. That's not. Let me ask you something, Elon interrupted. Not loudly, but with an authority that made Joy's mouth snap shut. What have you built? The question landed like a stone in still water. I'm a journalist, Joy said, her voice wavering slightly. I inform the public. You entertain the public, Elon corrected. Which is fine. Entertainment matters. But don't confuse it with building anything. You haven't built a product. You haven't built a company. You haven't built a single thing that will exist after you're gone. Joy's composure cracked. That's incredibly arrogant. No, Elon said softly. Arrogant is assuming you understand things you've never done. Arrogant is sitting behind a desk and dismissing people who are actually trying to solve hard problems. What you just did, calling my life's work a distraction, that's arrogance. Joy leaned forward, her voice rising. You want to know what I really think? I suspect you're going to tell me regardless. I think you're a fraud, Joy said. I think you're a rich kid from South Africa who got lucky with a PayPal buyout and has been failing upward ever since. The Cybertruck looks like a refrigerator. The tunnels are a joke. Twitter is losing advertisers. And your whole genius act is just marketing. The studio went completely silent. Even the camera operators froze. Elon stared at Joy for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled, not warmly, but with something that looked almost like pity. You know what's fascinating? He said. You've been talking for 10 minutes, and you haven't asked a single real question. You've made statements. You've delivered opinions. You've called me names. But you haven't asked me anything. He leaned forward slightly. So let me ask you something instead. When was the last time you changed your mind about something important? Joy blinked. What? Changed your mind. Admitted you were wrong. Learned something new and updated your beliefs accordingly. When did that last happen? The silence was brutal. I change my mind all the time, Joy said, but her voice had lost its edge. Give me an example. I don't have to. Because I can give you examples, Elon continued. I was wrong about artificial intelligence timelines. I adjusted. I was wrong about how fast we could automate Tesla production. I learned. I was wrong about how quickly Starship would fly. I adapted. That's what engineers do. We test, we fail, we learn, we improve. We don't just sit in the same chair for 25 years saying the same things into the same cameras. Joy's face was now a blotchy red. She gripped the edge of the desk. You don't get to come on my show and lecture me about growth. I've been doing this since before you were famous. Fame isn't the same thing as knowledge, Elon replied. And longevity isn't the same thing as contribution. Are you calling me irrelevant? I'm calling you unprepared. You invited me here. You had days to research. And the best you could do was repeat headlines and call me a fraud. He stood up, not dramatically, but deliberately. The audience gasped. Where are you going? Whoopi asked, alarmed. Elon looked at her, not at Joy. I came here to talk about the future. About space, about energy, about AI. Things that actually matter. Instead, I got 20 minutes of insults disguised as journalism. He turned toward Joy. You said earlier that you're not afraid to ask the tough questions. But you haven't asked a single question. You've made pronouncements. You've delivered verdicts. And now I'm supposed to sit here and defend my existence to someone who decided I was a villain before I walked in the door. Joy stood up too. Sit down. We're not done. Yes, Elon said. We are. He turned and walked toward the edge of the set. The audience was on its feet, some cheering, some just standing in shock. Whoopi's mouth was slightly open. One of the co-hosts had her head in her hands. Elon, Whoopi started. He paused at the edge of the stage and turned back. Not toward Joy, toward the audience. I want to say one thing before I go. I respect this show. I respect the audience. I respect genuine journalism. But what happened here today wasn't journalism. It was a hit piece that wasn't even well researched. He looked at Joy one final time. You have no idea what you're talking about. The 5 words landed like a hammer. No anger. No shouting. Just a statement of fact delivered with the calm of someone who knew it was irrefutable. Elon walked off the set. The audience erupted, not polite applause, but a roar. People were on their feet. Some were shaking their heads in disbelief. The energy was unlike anything the View had experienced in years. Joy Behar stood alone at the desk, her face a mask of fury and humiliation. For a moment, she didn't move. She just stared at the empty chair where Elon had been sitting. Then she broke. "How dare he?" she hissed. "How dare he walk off my show and lecture me about journalism?" Whoopi tried to intervene. "Joy, we should probably take a commercial." "No." Joy shouted. "No commercial. Let them see this. Let everyone see what happens when you invite a narcissistic billionaire onto a serious talk show." She turned toward the audience, gesturing wildly. "This is what they do. They come here. They pretend to be civilized. And the moment someone pushes back, the moment someone asks the real questions, they run. They walk off and make themselves the victim." The audience was murmuring now, not with support, but with growing discomfort. People were exchanging glances. A few were shaking their heads. "Elon Musk," Joy continued, her voice rising to near hysterical levels, "is not a genius. He's not a visionary. He's a man who bought a social media company so he could make himself the main character. He fires people for disagreeing with him. He spreads conspiracy theories. He? Joy?" Whoopi's voice was firm now. "Stop. No, I will not stop. I've been on this show for decades. Decades. I've interviewed presidents. I've interviewed Nobel Prize winners. And I have never been treated with such disrespect by a guest. He thinks he can just walk off because I asked him tough questions about his record? He thinks." "Joy!" Whoopi snapped. "He's not here. You're yelling at an empty chair." The words hit Joy like cold water. She looked around, at her co-hosts, at the audience, at the cameras still rolling. The realization crept across her face, she was ranting alone on live television. The audience wasn't cheering. They were staring. Some looked embarrassed for her. Others looked relieved they weren't her. That's when it happened. From the wings, a figure stepped back onto the set. It was Elon. He wasn't angry. He wasn't triumphant. He just stood there for a moment, watching Joy with an expression that was impossible to read. "I forgot my phone," he said. It was such a mundane sentence, so absurdly normal, that the audience burst out laughing. Not at him. With him. Joy spun around, her eyes blazing. "Oh, so now you come back? Now you want to talk?" Elon picked up his phone from the desk. He looked at it for a second, then looked at Joy. "I heard what you said. From backstage. About narcissists and conspiracy theories. And?" Joy's voice was shaking. "And I realized something." Elon pocketed the phone. "I walked off because I thought the conversation was pointless. But now I think leaving was a mistake. Not for me, and for you." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means if I had stayed gone, you would have spent the next week telling everyone how you stood up to Elon Musk. How you asked the tough questions and scared off the billionaire. That would have been the story. He took a step closer. But now the story is different. Now everyone watching just saw you spend 5 minutes screaming at an empty chair. Calling me a narcissist. Calling me a fraud. While I wasn't even in the room." Joy's face went pale. "You gave yourself enough rope," Elon said quietly. "And you used every inch of it. I didn't need to be here for that." The audience wasn't laughing anymore. They were witnessing something rare, a public unraveling in real time. "So here's what's going to happen," Elon continued. "I'm going to leave now. For real this time. And you're going to sit there and think about everything you just said. Because the internet never forgets. And neither will the audience." He turned to Whoopi. "I'm sorry this turned into what it did. You deserve better. The audience deserved better. Whoopi nodded, speechless. Elon walked off the set for the second time. This time, he didn't pause. He didn't look back. Joy stood frozen. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Her eyes were wet, tears of rage, of humiliation, of the sudden, sickening awareness that she had just destroyed herself on live television. "I can't," she started. Then she ripped off her microphone. The sound of it hitting the desk was sharp, final. "Joy," Whoopi started. "I can't do this," Joy said, her voice cracking. "I just can't." Without another word, Joy Behar turned and stormed off her own show. Past the cameras. Past the stunned producers. Past the audience that sat in deafening silence. The cameras held on Whoopi's face, an expression of exhaustion, disbelief, and something that might have been relief. "Well," Whoopi said slowly, looking directly into the camera. "We're going to take a short break." The floor manager's voice cut through the chaos. "Cut to commercial. Now. What did you think of this incredible confrontation?" The moment Elon Musk looked Joy Behar in the eyes and said, "You have no idea what you're talking about," wasn't just a takedown, it was a reckoning. And watching Joy storm off her own show after being completely dismantled in front of a live audience was nothing short of television history. If you believe in accountability, if you believe that preparation beats presumption every time, and if you think moments like this deserve to be remembered, tap like to show your support. Subscribe to Rupture for more explosive confrontations from the world of entertainment. And tell us in the comments, was Elon right to come back and deliver that final message, or should he have stayed gone and let Joy destroy herself? Drop your thoughts below and hit that notification bell so you never miss another moment where celebrities snap and television history is made. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.